Good evening again, and hi, folks. I'm Jitin Namde, and today here we are again with a new topic, and the topic is relevance of religion in politics. Every third day of the week, we come up with one topic, and the topic which is going to add value to people's lives, and something which is really important because we are living in the kind of era where people are no with every passing day people are growing, and they want something which can add value to their lives. And in the same kind of fashion, we are again with a new topic, and the topic is quite relevant. We've got two forces. The world is being governed by two forces, and one is the religion, and the other one is politics. And we know that if we want to progress in a life, then we should have a solid foundation. And if we talk about the government, so the government should also have something which can uh, make it very solid, and that is none other than religion, because we've got certain set of formulas. We have got certain sort of you can say driving force which can help us move on the right path, and religion can play a vital role, right? So because religion, we all know that we always want to do something good, and religion always teaches us that we should not be deviating from the right path. And
Correct.
if religion is the politics is coupled with religion, then I think we can give a new shape to this world. And that's why we have come up with this particular topic, and we are going to dive deeper into it so that we can unravel all those aspects which can help people understand, and which can give people something which can add value to their lives. So now, Robin, before we dive into the topic, we go deeper into the topic. I want you to add something more to this particular topic which we are going to have discussion on. Over to you.
Okay, good evening, first of all, and good evening to all the audience. This topic is important for various reasons because we have now entered a phase where we cannot say that we are not having a direct, responsibility on us towards nation in terms of our contribution to all forms of its development, may it be economic, social, because we are living in the technological world, and these technology provide us certain platforms from where our voice can be heard. We can raise a valid question. On the top of it, we can also criticize the government for various reasons. So I mean, we had never such a time where such access was there for us to have a direct interference in the political world and the activities. Now, we have also seen over the last 10 to 20 years, there have been too much of politics, especially on the ground of religion. And we have also seen how sometimes the of the people comes into the trap of the stalwartness of the politicians, and they run and play with the emotions of the people, of the innocent people, in the name of politics. They only score, brownie points, and they retain their positions, sometimes even at the cost of religious values, even at the cost of economical and social values. This video that we are going to have today is going to target all those, points which we often, as a youth, always ask to the government, as well as we will also try to know uh, the the extension that we should give to religion in the politics, or let's say politics in the religion, so that the sentiments of the people could not be hurt. As we have seen that when a religion becomes a politics, then often it comes out as a chaotic event, and then sometime turns out to be a communal violence. So India has faced a lot of these kind of violences, right? So all these things we're going to cover through this video, but we will hit only those very valuable points, and we will try to maintain a dignity of the channel as well as try to maintain the neutrality of the channel, because we often present such a video which doesn't show our personal inclination towards any political party. So I want to, I mean, this is just a, disclaimer from my side. Whatever I'm going to speak, it is just for the purpose of knowledge. It has got no connection to any political, you know, uh, you can say, support whatsoever it is. We are only going to present what we have learned so far out of our understanding, and all are free to present their opinions too through comment sections. Over to you.
So what we are going to discuss is we'll be discussing what we think is we think should be there, and what we think is lacking, and what we think is right. We are not going to support any party. We are not going to
Right.
say we're not going to be against any particular party, because here we are going to
Absolutely.
discuss something which is which should be there, and which can be included, and which can be worked on, I think. Right.
Right.
So now let us start with the very first question. And the first question which I want to ask you is, tell me, how has religion historically shaped political systems and ideologies around the world?
Okay. I mean, obviously, this question could be the very first one, because unless we know the very initiation of how it all began and we reach to this very phase of the 21st century, and where we are now facing this concoction of politics and religion, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to respond to this question. But before I respond to this question, I want to just give this a little disclaimer. As I told you previously, there are some elements which might be, you know, uh, seen as something offensive, but I'm trying to not make such offensive remarks. This is all about knowledge. This is all about information, and it has got nothing to do with my personal, inclination. This is what I have heard. This is what I have read from the books and from many other videos and then the scholars, right, and historians, right. To begin with this question, I would start with one point. See, after I read the book, *Sapiens*,
Yes.
you will know of Ferrari,
Yeah.
Harari,
Yeah.
and that book is
It's
really
been written by, I think you will know. I
Noah
really,
Harari.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that book is pretty awesome. So I recommend people to go and read that book. This book literally serves one specific purpose, and that is to develop the very base ground from where we should start our understanding about the human development. When we talk about human development, several other aspects automatically, fall in, such as religion, such as philosophies, such as politics, many other are the part of the human development as we passed on, as the human evolution evolved, the human evolved further. We see that all these things are becoming more mature in its term, in its concepts. This book serves that particular purpose. So after I read the book, I literally, uh, found that there could be a possibility to make a certain point, a point of a frame of reference, right, from where we could really understand things, how it all happened. So when someone, comes and asks, about, the religion and its impact on the politics, we must understand that, and this is a very general question to anyone. I mean, if we ask this to ourselves, what could be the first possible scenario on this planet, in a sense that are we with this developed mindset, everything is ready made prepared, or we came here empty handed, and with the interaction of the nature, then we formed many things, in which then we, included, religion, politics. Probably 99% people would go with the next one, with the second option, and this is absolutely right, because as a child takes birth, the child is often with premature mindset, means
Yeah.
the child has no brain, has no particular consciousness, right? As the child evolves further, reaching to 12 to 13 and 14 and 17, after then he or she becomes a mature, or beyond this, go beyond this adolescent age, and thereafter he enters a phase of life where he is able to take certain decisions of his life, right? In the same way, we humans evolved in the same way, right? So we came here empty handed, and then we interacted with the environments, and after that we got to know many things. But one thing which was very common among many people, that the fear, and the fear is always there with us, and that fear is in essence which was felt then and is still a part of the life today, right?
This
So
fear
to
can
tackle
also
this,
act as a catalyst.
obviously, yes, absolutely, it works, and it works like a catalyst. So when you have a fear, when you have a certain kind of stress, when you have a kind of apprehension, we people try to find out certain solutions. Then the mind was not that much scientific, right? And then it evolved further. It did it with all possible experience as we do today. I mean, how all these scientists perform their scientific experiments. They are not exactly and a pinpoint maintain a pinpoint accuracy on each of their experiments. They do it, and they thereafter decide whether it is going to be successful or not, and if it
Yeah.
goes failed, then they apply some other tricks and tactics. The same thing happened with those human in the first phase of evolution. So what I'm trying to say is this is a very key point, or a point of reference there, where we could understand. So when people say how the religion impacted on the politician, religion was introduced to the humanity, or you can say human introduced religion to the entire world, just for a one reason: to tackle this problem of apprehension, to handle this fear, right? So for example, imagine yourself that we are alone here on this planet and we don't see anyone around us, and one day there comes a striking lightning in the sky. What is going to be the first experience of that man? Obviously the person would be in a fearful state.
Yes.
Then he doesn't know anything about it, but he will be in a fearful state, so he will try to do all possible things, right? To actually manage these things, to cope with that thing, right? So this entire situation, just like, I mean, drive from that phase to this phase. So this is how it all went. Now when we understand religion on politics, we need to understand that even today, right now, you can see uh, the politics of the modern era, or the politics in the medieval era, or even in the ancient era. I mean, Ashoka, the emperor Ashoka, one who was the staunch follower of buddhism
Buddhism.
of
Yeah.
buddhism right? He applied all the principles of Buddha, Gautam Buddha, in maintaining his kingdom. For example, eightfold paths is basically are basically one supported by the Ashoka. And what are all these eightfold paths? We all know: the right vision, right intention, right attempts, right practice, right? So all these were eightfold paths, and all were applicable to the policies. Policies are what? To govern the entire state as a king. So see the reflection of all these kind of religious values, and how it is taking an entry into the policy making programs, right? So then it happened vehemently and with all acceptance. It was not such a kind of hesitation being shown to the religious values. One more thing, which is pretty much normal to understand and conceivable, many people can count on this, that these religious values often have been, colored with communal violence, and sometimes, you can say some sort of other violences, right? Or atrocities. But literally, these religious values, in true sense, always serve two things: ethical values and the moral values. And
Yes.
these are the integral part of the religion, isn't it? Right? So these religious books or the scriptures always served for these kind of some these kinds of religious and moral values. And that's how all the leaders who came and had the responsibility towards nation, all they applied these religious values into their policy making system, and they governed the entire state in that way. Let's take an example of Mahatma Gandhi. He is known for what? He is known for a,
Non-violence.
what? Non-violence. Non-violence is itself a part of Hindu religious practice.
Yeah.
Ahimsa,
And
right?
truth is also
Ahimsa,
truth. Truth is
aparigraha.
also
Yes,
truth is also
there
there.
is a yam.
Yeah.
So there is a yam basically is defined under Hindu, philosophy. So
Mm.
under it comes five different principles, and it is one among those. So ahimsa, satya, aparigraha, these are the major components. So all these were favored by great leaders then and even now. So you can see the impact of all these kinds of religious values and all these kinds of moral values, and how it is still helpful in making of the policies making. It doesn't end with that, but even you can see the reflection in the constitutions. So so overloaded right now our constitution with these kinds of religious values, right? So that's how you can find a connection between religion and the politics, and it's still going on from then to till now. Over to you.
Yeah. So you mean to say that we've got this religion just as a, you can say, as a path which we can follow, because we want to have certain rules in our life so that our life doesn't go haywire. Our life is always on the right path. In the similar fashion, if we want politics to be on the right path, to be always doing something good to the society, to the world, then we should have this religion, and we should be incorporating religion so that people can always get benefited by it. The Because we've got every kind of person. I mean, people are good and people are bad as well, and those who've got bad intentions will always be trying to harm the other
Right.
people, and they will always be trying to cheat the country as well. But this religion always comes into play, especially in these kind of situations where it always propels us to do something right, to do something, to always be going again, going be to always be going against the wrong, right? So
Right.
this is what this religion does. Next
Right.
question which I want to ask you is, tell me, are the moral and ethical framework provided by religions still relevant, especially in this contemporary governance?
Okay. Many people often have this a slight objection on moralities, on some ethical values, as they find it sometimes going irrelevant, as it doesn't serve the purpose for it was introduced earlier. Since people have become more cunning, and out of their cleverness, they often do deceptive role. And even when you teach them moral values and do moral coding, they often do the things what they want at the end of the day. The classic example we have is the politician itself. They are usually the most corrupt one. I'm not including all politicians, but there are a list of politicians who are literally corrupt even when they come out to stage, and when they give a very hyperbolic rhetorical speech, they often teach other their fellows to abide by and be compliant to all these kinds of ethical values. So when you understand this from their perspective, probably people don't won't find much relevance in ethical values and moral values that we have from the sacred religious scriptures. But if I share my personal observation and my opinion and whatsoever I have heard and read about this, I do find that if there is anything which could really serve the purpose of humanity, then it is none other than the moral and the ethical part of the religious scripture and nothing else from it. Why I'm saying nothing else from these two things? Because the remaining part of the religious scripture is often more doubtful. Why? Because we have a section of people who call themselves atheist, and therefore you cannot force them to believe the existence of God, right? As all people have their full liberty to live their lifestyle the way they will want, right?
Yeah.
In fact, in America and other Western countries, they are much in a liberal state where they enjoy their personal beliefs and no one objects them, right? So these are the things which are often objectionable. Some people are literally atheist. Some people are you can say very much into devotion of the god. So people have their own choices. So putting this part aside as a part of the scriptures, what remains left with us is are only the values called ethical values and the moral values. And these ethical and moral values are highly you can say probable or paramount, not just for leading a perfect life, but to leading a perfect business. When I was doing my training of legal training, I was uh, having a certain ethical professional lectures, how I'm going to conduct myself being a lawyer in future. What are those things which I am going to avoid? What are those things which I want, I need to be compliant towards at any cost? So there were the things which were told, you know where you have to be very careful about. And it was not just limited to me, it was for many people, because when you come out as a leader, when you come out as an individual member of the society, it's your utmost duty to be more responsible towards other. In fact, if you go and check the definition of what is right and what is duty, then you will come to know a very interesting part being propounded by Simon, that he says that my duty is your right. Means your right could only be managed and balanced only when I perform my duties. So what is more important here is to perform the duties. After you perform the duty, the right of other could be protected. If you don't perform your duties, then there is no protection and preservation of right. How beautiful thing this is. It seems to be something maybe missed out, but it has that essence which clearly tells us the value of moralities and ethical values in a lifestyle, right? And that what we got from the literature, that what we got from the scriptures, right? So whatever we have right now in the name of you know businesses that we have right now, we are also doing many trade businesses with different countries. You go and find the basic rules on which it is bedrocked. You'll be surprised to know that they are run and regulated by these ethical values. There is a term called natural justice,
Hmm.
and there is no specific you know uh, clause and codification of natural justice. So if you go and check what natural justice is all about, can you show me some particular explanations on it, any particular kind of codification of rules and the laws, that this is what you have to abide by and this is what you can avoid? There is nothing as such. So natural justice is only based on the ethical values, on the moral values. What is right cannot be denied, right? So this is how the natural justice work, and natural justice is always based on your ethical understanding, your ethical approach and moral approach. And at the end of the day, if there has to be something which is a subject to maintenance, this is ethical values, because ethical values is governed by us, within us. There is no proper camera surveillance on it. So you meet someday with some beggar or some needful person who asks you for certain help, a financial need. Now there is no certain responsibility on you or any
Yeah.
law that forces you that you have to help him at any cost. There is no such rule that forces you, right? But that's your personal will that will help you to decide whether you want to give or assist him or not financially, right? Now if you are ethically you can say strengthened from within, or your ethical aspect is much stronger, then you will go ahead and obviously help the person. Many people don't help them, Both of them don't get punishments for not following this responsibility, but out of your ethical values, out of your humanistic values, you come out and help the person. This is the beauty of the ethical values, and that is what is here we have right now, right from the scripture section. So you cannot alienate and separate, because if you go and do the insulation of it, then forget about the integration. And ultimately, human values are nothing but that integrate one person with other. And ethical value serves that purpose. Over to you.
And what I can infer from this is that discipline comes from religion, because religion is there for us to be for us to be disciplined. What I believe is that if this discipline is not there, if ethical values are not there, people will then they will not be behaving like human beings, because we human beings are human beings because we have got certain limitations. I mean, this religion has limited us, and this tells us that we should not be doing good, bad to others. We should not be mistreating others. And if suppose if this religion is not there in the politics, if this is not there in the people's lives, I think people then will not be valuing other people. You can say there will be
Right.
a chaotic situation, right? So ethical values, religion always maintain this particular, you can say, this particular situation. People are behaving because they think if they do something they'll be then getting punished by God. There is some kind of fear actually, and this fear, let us become who we really are. We are human beings, and we are supposed to be behaving like human beings. And this religion always scares us, and it always stops us from doing something bad. And
Mm.
when a person crosses over their limits, I think then this is going to be very inhumane. And
Mm.
that's why we've got certain religion and rules and all these ethical values, right? The next question which we have to discuss is, tell me, in what ways can religion serve as moral compass for politicians and policymakers?
Okay, I think my response would be same to this question, because uh, we have only we have guidance. I mean, we have guidance from our scriptures, right? So as we had a discussion in the very earlier part of this video, where we talked about how Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, got motivated. Uh, so we come to know that it was non-violence as a value, as an ethical value or an moral value that he got from the scriptures. And that's how Mahatma Gandhi came out and projected himself as a non-violent revolutionary, which is very rare. A revolutionary cannot be non-violent, right? But he was throughout his struggle for the freedom of the country, right? So that's how that's how Mahatma Gandhi, got motivated, and how he, you know, contributed, his part to the freedom of the country, right? The same thing we, learned in the case of, Ashoka. Ashoka also did the same thing. So one thing could be said here, and I don't want to prolong it, because I think that will be sufficient to understand for people that, when you become a leader, out of your common sense, you try to formulate such policies in which you take the interest of all first. So when you do all these things, you can call yourself a body being governed by ethical values, right?
Yes.
Because when you take the interest of all, and you do care the interest of all, you are actually following your duty very rightfully, right? And that's what we learn from, scriptures, and that's how it guides us. In fact, did you see this very interesting and a very peculiar, you know, uh, situation that we are in right now? Most of the countries are nuclear weaponized. All
Yes.
Most of the people, most of the countries are nuclear, you can say, supported, right? They are different nuclear weapons and many other ballistic missiles too. But how often we come across with events such as one country has gone for a full-fledged war against other country, demolishing all humanistic values, putting all the ethical values at stake? Rarely. In
Yes.
fact, the last time when we had this very moment in 1945, when Hiroshima and Nagasaki
Yes.
uh, were bombarded by
Yeah.
USA. But after then, there had been no such events, right? However, there is a war going on between Ukraine and Russia. That is an exceptional case, and that is for some other reasons. But still, there are certain, values which are being maintained and balanced, right? So we cannot say that we have lost out of our ethical values. It is still the one that plays a very key role in forming the relation, because we have done and accepted mutually, and you can say, categorically, unanimously, that if there is something which is to be served, is this the humanity to everyone. So that's how we learn, and that's how the religious helps us to be motivated towards always the application of ethical values in the routine life of the people. Over to you.
Let's talk about India because our country is secular, where we've got different religions. So the government has to be very careful because we cannot just simply be going with one religion, and we cannot have everything which is supporting one particular religion. So tell me, how does the mixing of religion and politics affect secularism in a democracy? Because our country is democratic.
Oh, see, the, uh, by the way, mostly countries are democratic, right? Mostly
Mm.
country, but there are certain countries which have their own ways of governing their countries, right? Since the first rule that is often given priority is that the country must be sovereign. So when a country becomes a sovereign, it is its right whether it wants to be governed by the democratic values or autocratic values. So this option is always left to the master of that sovereign state. So when we were under the slavery of British before 1947, we had no option but to follow the instructions of the British establishment, right? But as soon as we got freedom on the day of 15th of August 1947, soon after we became a complete sovereign state. So it was our decision whether we want to adopt democratic values or we want to go along with this autocratic values where only one leader would be, you know, you can say empowered with all powers, and the leaders will govern the country in his own ways. In most of the middle countries sometimes it happens, and even if it is happening, it is happening right now. So first of all, this is the question that is left to the country itself, and the country must be sovereign first of all. Now, second thing which is also important, since we have to maintain a certain kind of relationship with other countries, we are very fortunate for one thing, and this is my personal observations, correct me if I'm wrong. Since we have entered this globalization, our responsibility has become even more, which means our responsibility is not towards our own people but to the people living in different countries too.
Yes, it is
So
double.
yes, so in no way we can be, inimical to other. In no way
Hmm.
we could be hostile to others by putting all those ethical values at stake just for the self, interest. It is not possible right now. And if you do so, you could be dismembered. You can be revoked from many membership, and if you get revoked from the membership of different organizations, you could be completely alienated, right? As it happens many times with Pakistan itself. It is put in the gray, you can say list where no country comes out and help it financially because its standard has been almost dwindled to the extent where no country could even, put a trust on it in terms of, financial assistance, right? So we have a lot of responsibility in this global world. And this is what is interesting and most liking part, which I really find that you have to go along and sync yourself with the values of the global. And then you cannot deny it anyway. So when you adopt this secularism right now, you have to maintain and balance it at any cost. That what we are doing right now in India. I mean, look at the condition in India. We are thriving with multiple, cultures, practices happening under one roof. Number of sects, number of religions are given their separate individual rights. You go to Indian Constitution, Article 14, 15, 16, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 30, 30. All these important articles are only for maintaining and balancing these diversities that go along with religious values, their cultural values, everything. Even the minorities have been given their specific rights and regulations. This is the beauty of the secularism. Last thing which I want to make to this: if you don't maintain your secularism right now, then your value at the international forum diminishes, and once your value diminishes, you become responsible to many countries. See, today, if there is anything which is very important, is your economic strength, and you cannot compromise on your economic strength. If you economically weak or weaken, then any country could come out and almost that's what we have experienced, in 1962 or before,
Yeah,
1947, right? Countries come out and try to dominate. Even China sometimes comes and keep dominating India in some part of the eastern region, right?
yeah.
So economic plays a very key role. Trade businesses have been established, and our relationship with other countries have become more strong. So secularism has to be maintained at any cost, and this religion plays a very key role in assisting us to maintain the secularism value. Over to you.
We've got many challenges when we talk about the religion, especially in politics, because I've also seen it it's been my experience as well, and I've been observing these things as well. That when the suppose elections are going to be held, and
Mm.
these politicians come and then they start paying lip services to people, start making hollow promises. We've got religion to help us, to guide us through all this journey. But we've got this challenge as well because politicians are not true to themselves. They are not true to people. They are not loyal to people. So why does this? I know why do these political party leaders often exploit religion with the specific, you can say, religious doctrines in multicultural societies?
This has
It's a
been a
very
pet
challenge, and
peeve.
it's a big challenge, I would say.
It's why do I laugh on certain things? Because you just go around, and you will have a number of instances where people are fighting for the reasons that their religions are superior to others.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is happening just because of some
Even God must be laughing at us. That no,
obviously.
they're fighting for whose God is, you can say,
Mm,
bigger than theirs.
obviously, but I mean, these particular instances don't come more often in the public domain, but there is a specific time period, if you can observe, that just before the election comes in and kicks off, you may have discussions pertaining to religion.
Yeah.
You may have discussions pertaining to caste. You may have argument and debates pertaining to who is superior and who is inferior in all these aspects of life, right? So we can now successfully find a connection, core connection between politics and religious provoking or provocation. So I'm not mincing my word to say this, that there are leaders, and I'm not just including India here, I'm including other countries too, that leaders to gain some brownie scores and to retain their positions, they sometimes inveigle the innocent people on the ground of religion. They create certain situations, and they present certain, you can say situations where it is likely to happen, where people would come out and trash each other on the ground of religion without knowing a proper reason for why they are doing it, just because of something has been addressed by a certain leader through a platform. Thereafter it becomes almost a kind of instruction from that leader to be followed by his followers. And that what happens in most of the countries today. But trust me, if there is anything which really bears the brunt of it, it is only the society itself. And society is the first unit, you can say, to the nation. So ultimately and eventually, the the literally the bigger problem is being faced by the country itself, right? So leaders, corrupt leaders who play this, religious politics in order to, do polarization in the society on issues, to divide a segment so that one particular segment could be supportive to one party and the remaining to other. And that's how they do play a vote banking system, right?
Yes.
This is called a vote banking too. So India is very famous for it. India, undoubtedly, India is very famous for it. Hindu, Muslim, and caste system in India are still a very integrated part of the Indian, democratic system, and we unwillingly or willingly have to accept it because we have done all possible efforts, but no leader has taken it seriously. Anyone who gets chance comes out and play the politics on religion, and that is what's happening even today. With you.
And what I believe is this: religion has no religion has ever taught us that they should be fighting for it. It is us who's always being, you can say, being very greedy, and because we want to gain some support, we want to get the votes, we want to come to the power. So we are, you can say, taking advantage of these people's innocence, and we are just trapping them in the name of religion. Because I've read about different religions, but I haven't come across where it's been said, especially in any religion, that it is supporting violence, it is supporting, it is promoting this exploitation. No
Mm.
religion has ever said this, right? Now, let me steer this conversation to ethics and governance. So, I've got some questions for you to answer. Tell me, is it ethical for a political leader or political party to use religious symbols or rhetoric to win votes?
This is always a very complicated, situation, and especially for a leader, because when you talk about a leader in connection to democratic system, then two things come out here. One, the right of one individual who is just an individual of a society, and the second, the right of an individual who is not just an individual but also the leader. So when you are a leader, but as well as you are also an individual part of the society, and all these fundamental rights are given to each and every individual, right? So from that particular sense, one can say, out of his prudence, common prudence, that even if it is a leader or even if it is a political party, they can use their religious symbol, because after all they also have their right being an individual part of the society. But from my personal understanding, I always believe in maintaining a certain balance between the two. I always give priority to one thing, and the thing is, when you become a leader, which means you are much responsible person in the society. So first of all, you should not be comparing yourself with all those common individuals, because you are the responsible for many people. All these people put their reliance on you as a leader, right? So you are the leader. So therefore, you have to put aside your personal individualism, and you have to be careful about the large, collective uh, majority of people, right? So now the final things which comes to the mind in this situation, when you are responsible as a leader or a political party or leader of a political party, you would avoid to use a certain religious value. However, you can do so, but you cannot put in public domain. You cannot videograph it. You cannot, manifest your religious values, because after all, you are the leader of all people. It includes not just one religion, but all possible religions. So it might be a hurting to one who doesn't belong to your religionship. religion, right? Second important thing, it also shows sometime a kind of unjustness or impartiality, sorry, partiality. As when I am a leader of one particular party, and I try to use one symbol, religious symbol, which belongs to my community, the other community would have this very slight objection. However, it should not be in an expressionable form, but there should also be a doubt in the mind of the other community whether this leader, you know, I mean, does partiality with us or not, whether this leader only works for one particular community whom it belongs to. So these questions often come in the mind of the people, and thereafter it somewhere weakens the democratic fabric, right? This is my personal observation. So therefore, I always say that if you are a leader of a country, as much as you could avoid, you must avoid using any religious, symbol. You can do so, but at your individual capacity, where you should not be holding yourself as a responsible person for the society. Because once you become a leader, you become the leader for all people, and that people are equal for you, regardless whether it comes in your society, whether he comes from your society or community or not. Over to you.
It is just like being a king who generally doesn't give too much importance to his own
Right.
interests and own I mean the interest of the family, because the whole
Hmm.
country, the whole state, and the whole city is his family, right? So
Right.
a leader has to avoid, or you can say put aside, his own self-interests, or his own interests. The next question which you have to answer is, tell me, what lessons can secular countries draw or learn from religiously influenced political systems?
Can you please repeat that question? I'm a little
Yeah,
confused.
my
Yeah.
question is,
Yeah.
what lessons can a secular country or
Hmm.
secular countries draw from religiously influenced
Religiously influenced.
political system?
Uh, okay, but in fact, there is always an uproar for one reason, that we should be avoiding countries which are solely governed by religious values. Because
Mm-hmm.
when a country is being governed by religious value, it is often termed as an extremist country.
Yes,
There are countries such as Syria, you know, and other Libya. These countries are, are purely governed by religious values, and for them there is no room for any sort of mistake in the religion, and they have some very inhuman punishments for the people who commit those religious, mistakes. So I really have a doubt a secular country, a democratic country like India would even think of obtaining any lesson, taking any lesson from religious influenced countries. But if there is something which has to be there for grab grabbing from that country as a learning, then only those values, not just an entire things to be taken from one country, but only few things. For example, there are certain religious countries where there are strict regulations for certain crimes, right?
yes,
For example, in Middle East countries, mostly crimes such as rape, crimes such as theft, stealing are often regulated by some very harsh punishments, very
yes.
inhuman punishments. But I don't say that we must adopt those punishments even for slight kind of, or less grave offense. But if there is a scope, something left for India or any democratic secular country, then it could be a little thoughtful about it, but only through a particular channel, and after the proper discussion on a particular kind of element, or a particular kind of rule that we are going to have from other country. We should do it only after we have a lot of discussion on it. So that is what we can have from these religiously influenced country. Over to you.
One thing which is coming to my mind is, as we are almost every country is now globalized, because we are um, living in a kind of country which has now become borderless, because we can go to any country, we can even settle there.
Mm,
So because
mm,
the whole world is now globalized, so
mm.
we cannot go with one particular faith, we cannot go with one particular religion. And that's why I've just thought of asking you this particular question. The question is, does globalization diminish or strengthen the role of religion in politics?
Um, I will, yes, I cannot make an extreme position here to take one side. And if I do it, it would be injustice to the other side, because since everything has been globalized, and one thing which is a lesson for all countries out of the routine experiences that we have, that every country maintains its individuality. Even if it is India, USA, Israel, all these countries have their individual features. And what is surprising part of these countries and with these individual features is that they often go connect their country to some religious picture. They actually demarcate their, their countries and, identity only to the religious values. Even if it is Israel, even if it is, India, even if it is some other countries, all countries have their some religious values within, and that is how they define, their borders, how they define the entire, cultural activities. So this is what my opinion on this. Over to you.
One more question, especially we are now talking about the impact on society, especially of this religion in politics. So you'll tell me, how does the religion in politics influence issues like education, healthcare, and civil rights?
Religious, sorry, I couldn't hear the first part.
How does religion in politics
Hmm.
influence issues like education, healthcare, and civil rights?
Okay. Religion helps in many ways. Undoubtedly, it helps in many ways. We have discussed even before in the same topic. First of all, for example, there are social welfare arrangements for a certain segment of people, which comes under poverty line, right? And this social welfare system is nothing but a product of religious values, because these social welfare programs are often done without having any return as an expectations from other, right? And therefore we call social welfare, right? So one example which we have witnessed all during COVID-19 and even today, 70 to 80% of the total populations, the time when everything was under COVID arrest, it was Food Corporation of India, which was serving food to each and every for free. So
Yes.
that was under a social welfare system, right? So it was encouraged by only one thought, why just one idea, that we have to, to preserve the humanity at all cost, right? So the social welfare system is one of those examples. Maternity law is also one example which is much guided and motivated by this, you know, this social welfare system, right? I mean, we should give, some some leaves, some days leaves to the girl who is pregnant, and there should be also some arrangement of, payment, or or wages, like all these things are properly, maintained in that. And that's how the things are governed by this, religion. So all these things ultimately are nothing but a product of religion, because we have talked about how religion is connected with moral and ethical values. So when you have cultivated some religious value in yourself, you have cultivated ethical values in you, and that what reflects through your policy making system. Many policies are being, are being governed and only on the basis of ethical values. In fact, when India got independence, there was no, you know uh, socialization or a social system, social democratic, so after we realized that there is immense inequalities among people, Some people have a lot of wealth, where on the other side some people almost struggling for their two times food, right? So thereafter the government came to this conclusion that why we should not you know uh, make such a social welfare system where all people could gain you know things equally. All people could could be you can say empowered with rightful things. In fact, article 16 or 14 are all about this social welfare system, where it comes and meet with this very deep rooted problem of inequalities, where certain segment of people were pressed or were suppressed for many years. For them there is a specific special provisions, and they are enjoyed with that, they are privileged with that, and they get some often concessions over the others. So all these things are very much regulated by the religious values. However, it is not explicitly written anywhere, but it could be seen as an implicit, implicit, you can say, result of the religious, understanding. Would you?
And the last and final question I want to ask you is, tell me how the mixing of
Hmm.
religion in politics are going to shape the future of the country. Because ultimately people are looking for something better. People
I
are
think one more thing, the we have just I have just 1% battery left, so I think we should sum up right now. We will, otherwise the entire video will go in vain.
okay.
Okay.
So this is what we wanted to discuss. This religion, if put into practice, and then this can shape the entire picture. Give a the beauty means it can shape the whole country, and this can become the guiding force of people
Right.
to follow, right? And with this,
Right.
I'm wrapping up this show, and we'll be coming up with the next episode in the days to come. Take care.
Good night. Bye bye.